First of all, I got to say, I'm very happy to be invited. I'm thrilled to be invited to participate in the video showing about my research about this interview, and I really love to share my research to other people. Of course, most of the time we can only share our research when we present it, right? Or they actually read the paper. But mostly scholars read the paper. So I think by doing this video, there's a lot of chance that we can spread these words out to the general public. My research mainly focuses on East Asian study, Chinese politics, Taiwanese politics, or broadly defined as East Asian politics. So on the one hand, I try to study public opinions in China, Taiwan. For example, we try to see how public perceive about the Chinese authoritarian government. On the other hand, I also try to study how people perceive the democratic consolidation process in Taiwan. So I came from Taiwan. So naturally, I think I will be curious about what's going on, especially think about the tension between the cross-strait issue between China and Taiwan, and then it's driving me a lot of incentive to, pay more attention to what's going on in China, what's going on in Taiwan, and how Taiwan can cope with the current situation. On the other hand, we also try to understand the American influence, the triangle relationship between U.S., China, and Taiwan. The most important question I'm trying to answer is, we want to know whether there's a chance China would democratize. We want to understand whether there's a potential that Chinese government will become a democratic government. And once China becomes democratic, then fundamentally, the so-called the cross-strait issue will be solvable, right? So, in the research, we're trying to adjust how Chinese people perceive the central government, right, or the Chinese regime. And then most importantly, we try to understand, well, the information environment has changed, right? It used to be state propaganda in 80s, 70s, but now, first of all, you have free commercial media, and second of all, after the penetration of internet, now we have a lot of foreign media having interest in spreading out those Western informations in China. Not necessarily political information, just to make Chinese citizens more aware of what's going on in other countries. On the one hand, Chinese people perceive state propaganda. They don't really like, Western idea, United States or European concept. But on the other hand, what is the actual impact when they actually read such an article, right? When CNN, New York Times, they actually have a Chinese website. And in CNN, United States, the New York Times in the United States, if you want to read the article, you have to pay.
Right.
You have to subscribe to it, right? However, they translate those articles freely in Chinese and publish on their Chinese website. However, they have a Weibo account, which is like a Twitter account. Okay. So they can still spreading out those news article information to the Chinese citizen. And what we want to know is, then what would be the potential impact of such information spreading from the internet, from the Western major medias? After we did an experiment, an online survey experiment in China, and we found that, well, ideally we believe when you read a positive information, positive social information about United States, about Western country, then Chinese people will be envy about, well, our social economic condition is actually worse than that. Right, which we believe that once they're exposed to such article, their regime support will decline. But what we found is, what if they read something good about United States, they're actually more supportive of their government. So before the penetration of Western news media, there are lots of rumors spreading out across the internet platform in China. Right, there's like Immigration Bureau on Weibo, which is just fabricating information, and most of the time they're over rosy about what it actually is in the Western countries. So once they actually receive a correct information or somewhat more neutral information about Western social conditions, they'll feel like, wow, it was worse. I thought it should be as high as possible, but it's actually worse than I thought. It's because they had a very high expectation about how it looked like to live in the United States. But once they actually read it, no, it's not as good as I thought. Which, reversely, Chinese government isn't doing that bad, right? Politics is about distributions. It's about distribution of power and resources. And then disregard what timing it is, disregard which country you're in, every perspective of your life involves politics. So this is the field that we have to pay a great deal of attention. Not just as a scholar, but as a regular citizen. We need to keep researching on various of questions, keep having a better understanding of what exactly is going on. And then on the other hand, for regular citizen or for political science, we have a better way to cope with the real world. Prevent something happen before it happen. I mean, I believe political science is not just an individual work; it's a holistic field, which means when such as MPSA, right? When everybody get together, we exchange information, and then we make our research better, not just for us, for the whole field. So on the one hand, I think people need to, younger scholars need to attend the conference as much as possible. And on the other hand, I think, even for market-wise, right? For market-wise, younger scholars also need to have more teaching experience. I mean, I now teach as a liberal arts school. So, of course, I graduated from Texas A&M, which is a research university where we don't really have much emphasis on teaching. Different schools have a different expectation about teaching, and most of PhD programs are in a research university where they focus more on research, and they don't really have a lot of training program on how you can prepare yourself to teach in a state university or in a liberal arts university. I think that's a very important training that we have to develop for our younger scholar. And on the research wise, political science becomes very scientific. I mean, compared to maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and some younger scholar, but because it depends on where they're from, depends on which university they went for their bachelor, they have a different tendency about what a political science look like. Yeah, but eventually there's a trend. There's a trend toward quantification. There's a trend toward what research is valued more. And I think as a younger scholar, you probably just need to hop on that train first. Yeah. As a scholar from comparative politics, one of the biggest issues is some of the concepts we use in other countries doesn't really go abroad to United States, right? So when we use those concepts, they might have a different idea of what a concept is. So most importantly, how can we clarify the conceptual definition of the term that we use in the research? Right? Or and then following on, how can we clarify the operationalization and measurement issue? We can talk about education. Education can mean different things, right? So when you think about higher education doesn't mean tertiary education, doesn't mean college degree. Well, in some countries, secondary enrollment is the higher education, right? So we have to bring in those contexts in. And then sometimes we were doing a research on the context list. We might be semi-familiar with it. So we need some aspect to give us more input about, all right, I don't think your measurement capture what you want to say. You might want to think about this. Take a big framing, right? So we know there's lots of authoritarian countries in the world. Right now, we probably have 80 or 90 authoritarian countries. And across different time in the history, we know some authoritarian countries actually allow media freedom. Some authoritarian countries censor everything out. Right? For example, if you think about the Middle East, most of the countries are authoritarian countries, but they do allow Twitter, they do allow Facebook, they allow you to use your mobile device to access to anywhere in the world, right? But some other countries like China, if you have a cell phone in China where you still cannot find Google, you don't see Wikipedia, or at least you don't see Tiananmen Square event on Wikipedia, right? So some countries censor the internet, some countries don't. Or in some countries have limited media freedom. Like we only have a state propaganda. We don't have a state-owned media. We don't allow commercial media. Some countries allow commercial media to exist. So our question is very simple: why? What's causing these variations? So on the one hand, the first reason why it happened, we believe, is government want to signal their competence to their citizens, right? If you're very strong authoritarian country, very competitive, you don't want the people to know what you're doing because you have a lot of rent-seeking behavior, corruption, so far so forth, right? And if you're incompetent, you also don't want your people to know that you're so bad, right? So for this too extreme, they don't want to let you know what's going on, so they censor media freedom. But if you're in between, right? if you're impatient, you don't want people to believe like, oh, I'm incompetent, right? You don't want to just limit your freedom so there's nothing leak out from the government and then people have no idea what you're doing. You want to signal your citizen that I'm doing something for you. I'm making my society better. So you want some level of media information competitions in the society that's okay. So citizens were aware of what is going on, and not mistakenly believe that you are actually an incompetent government. So what we see, deriving from game theory, we have which you see an inverted U relationship. Inverted U relationship between government competence and media freedoms. And then we apply a large and statistic analysis from 1993 to about 2015. And we analyze this data and find supporting evidence. And I think the reason why we get an award is a mixed method. It's not just a formal modeling paper. It's not just a quantitative paper with some theoretical mechanism. We actually have mathematical derivations of what's going on.